Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Step into the Miraculous with Joan of Angels. And we actually have a miraculous event today, a miraculous guest, Marguerite Rigoglioso. And she's been on the show before. And I'm really excited about bringing her on today because we're going to be talking about my favorite subjects, King Arthur, Guinevere, and the Mystery School. So we have quite a treat for you in just a minute. And if you are new to the channel, I want to just share with you, I'm so grateful that you're here. And please share and like and share with our tribe, please. And please subscribe so we can reach more people. And I'm Joan of Angels. I help you transform your life and step into your purpose and mission. And check that out at joanofangels.com. All right. Well, meanwhile, I want to tell you about our guest. Marguerite Rigoglioso is the founding director of Seven Sisters Mystery School. She's a scholar practitioner of the ancient Mediterranean mystery traditions. She's the author of The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece and Virgin Mother Goddess of Antiquity, pioneering volumes emerging from her doctoral dissertation at the California Institute of Integral Studies that explore women's shamanic abilities in a revolutionary new light. And she is revolutionary. She teaches unique and leading edge courses in the sacred feminine and women's spiritual leadership at the California Institute of Integral Studies, Sophia University, and Dominican University of California. Her research on female deities and women's religious leadership in the ancient Mediterranean world and beyond has appeared in anthologies and journals around the world, including Feminist Theology, Encyclopedia of Religion and Nature, Societies of Peace, She Is Everywhere, Trivia, and the Journal of Feminist Studies in Religion, where her paper on the cult of Demeter and Persephone, gosh, what Mercury retrograde is in my soul today. And so Persephone in Sicily received an honorable mention for the New Scholar Award. She is also the editor of Where to Publish articles on women's studies, feminist religious studies, and feminine womanist topics. She's a speaker around the world on numerous venues, and we are just so honored to have her here. So before I get tongue twisted anymore, I'm going to bring her up right now. Marguerite.
Hi, Joan. Great to be with you again.
It is really lovely to be with you. You look wonderful. You just look like you yourself are one of the ancient mysteries in this new world.
You know, it's the suntan because I love summer is the best time of year for me. So
I get it. I get it. Well, you look radiant. You look mystical. You look magical. And I really have some questions for you. I'm really curious to know about how you got involved in all of this magic and mystery, especially King Arthur and Guinevere. How did that come about for you?
I know. Well, to keep it really, really brief, I just think like so many of us who are on the spiritual path, we came in with a soul contract from, many lifetimes, many parallel past lives of experience. And we knew we wanted to come onto the planet at this critical time to help sort of turn the ship around, right? And so, numerous things in our lives reawaken those memories as to why we came here and, get us back in touch with our ancient knowledge that we have in ourselves from all of these lifetimes. And for me, a couple of the key events included the death of my mother when I was 10 years old, which was a big initiatory journey that colored really the whole trajectory of my life. And other experiences that I had, of childhood abuse and the stuff that so many of my clients experience, so many awakening people, so many starseeds go through. It's like, you're going to parachute in and get shot at, and you're just going to hope that you sort of hang on and awaken. And all of these travails are both hold us back and wake us up. So those have been some of what I've experienced. But what I've always had going for me is keen intelligence and really an enjoyment of school and reading and all that sort of stuff. So that's what got me through all of that travail and trauma. And but I always had like a mystical streak. I tried going to Catholic church, and I tried to make meaning and suck the juice out of a dry bone, that was there.
What a good way to put that.
Yeah,
Suck the juice out of the dry bone.
yeah, I was always seeking for something more than I was experiencing in the particular environments that I was. And just eventually it led me into, what could I do with school to get me closer to the mysteries? So I ended up going to the California Institute of Integral Studies and did some other educational ventures. And that's what really got me into it. And I became, what I call myself, a scholar practitioner, or an esoteric scholar, or a spiritual cosmonaut, or whatever. So that's kind of the short story.
Well, I like the short story. I probably would love the long story too. A spiritual cosmonaut. I love that. And you're saying you had mystical experiences all your life then, growing up as
I had what I would call a mystical bent. Like, I was always looking for something. For example, in the Catholic Church, the stories that would come about around Easter about Magdalene, really inspired my imagination. I was like, what is that? And I became interested in the sacred feminine, which was another whole awakening that I had. I'm not even sure what year, but I was 30, my early 30s at the time. And I had this awakening to the goddess through a workshop that I went to in the Boston area. And it was a woman who said, in order to understand how much women have been disempowered, you need to understand how much the dismissal of the sacred aspect of the feminine has affected us. And by the way, here are a whole bunch of books and cultures that show us how the goddess was and is alive and well. And I was like, what goddess? That's where I want to go. So I started looking up all those books. I started getting involved in the work of Maria Gimbutas, the archaeologist who basically proved that old Europe, among other places, was a hotbed of goddess veneration. And, it just went from there.
Very, very interesting. Have you ever heard of the ancient civilization Tartaria?
Yeah, of course.
Well, not everyone has heard of it. Okay. So, and I've just found out about Tartaria. Do you think that some of these mysteries were in Tartaria? These are Tartarian deities in a sense?
I know. I think, Joan, what's happening is that we're starting to strip away the veils that traditional religion and traditional academia has put over authentic histories of humanity.
Right.
So Tartaria becomes a big question. Atlantis becomes a big question. Lemuria becomes a big question. And goodness knows what else. And it's not clear to us where they situate in time and place, how they overlap, but we're starting to try to, make a kind of a timeline about them. So we're listening to disclosure people and oracles and intuitives about what are these places and times all about. I mean, I think this whole idea of Tartaria is very interesting. An ancient global civilization that may have done these tremendous buildings like, the cathedral, right, and so forth. Like, how the heck else could they have been built with middle age, stones and and sticks?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So when you really think about it, and so but that's just such a much larger question. And I'm sure that these stories enter into it, and we're trying to sort out the timelines with all of this.
Well, no, I understand that. And I've been researching particularly from that aspect and discovering that, yes, they've not only merged the timelines and the times, they did it, sometimes I used to look at all these Greek gods, the Roman gods, they seem to be all the same around the world as well. As if we have just one big civilization we don't know about, we're tapping into it.
Yeah.
Is what it seems. So I'm thinking that that's some of what you do in the mystery schools, or what you've been exploring then, is what's the truth about certain of these stories that we hear of these
That's
people.
Right. What is the truth about these stories? What is the truth about Jesus, Magdalene, Mother Mary, things that we talked about in the other regarding my latest book, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. What is the truth about miraculous conception, divine birth? What is the truth about Arthur and Guinevere? And what I'm discovering, Joan, is that in some senses, these beings are so big and so great that they shapeshift according to the times and the needs. They shapeshift. They will be a mirror to reflect who you are and who you have become and who you are becoming. That's why it's important to raise their stories up to the highest level so that we can then see ourselves raised up to our higher level. And that's what I'm aiming to do with this new course that I'm offering about Guinevere and Arthur.
Well, so we have it actually. We're going to show it as we have it ready to show in a minute. But give us a little. I know I'm excited about it because they're my favorite. I used to read everything I could about Joan of Arc, King Arthur, and Guinevere. The whole concept of the Knights of the Round Table.
I know
that this was an age of civilization that was epic. The golden ushered in a golden age.
Yeah, and once again, like we're saying with Tartaria, Atlantis, Lemuria, no one knows exactly when it was or really where it was, okay? But we know that it was and is and shall be. And that's what I'm tapping into, beneath and under all of these scholarly arguments and constipations, trying to make it disappear, right? We need to get back into it because it is on a mystical plane. I do believe these people walked the planet, but I'm not sure whether it was 500 AD or in prehistorical times or where and when and how. But that doesn't deny the reality, the inner plane's reality of who these people are, what they represent to us, and how they are masters and mentors for us today.
True. And it doesn't actually matter when they existed, and they may have been back many times in different as different characters, as different beings, as different prophets. That's also right. So the thing about mysteries for me, I was brought up with a lot of mysteries, and I always have found myself always if you give me a little crumb, I actually want to see what's going on. I have trouble with it. It actually agitates me until I can get to the root of it. And the root of our planet's history is so deep, to go down into and look. But you're right. It's what we see and we know. So these beings, these spiritual figures really have meant a lot to us here on the planet, have guided us tremendously.
Yeah. I mean, they capture the imagination of so many people. And so there we need and deserve to go into who they are, what they're all about, and what is the medicine they have for us today.
So before we show your upcoming program, which, guys, I just think is amazing, just because it's about the things that I like. What is it about King Arthur and Guinevere, their story, that's so magical and attracted you to share this with us?
The main thing that got me truly going into it was when I realized how many divine birth stories there are in that lore. And because of all the research that I've done on divine birth as a real thing that priestesses were doing, I was able to peer into these stories and say, oh, they're just sort of glossing over this conception of Arthur. They're just sort of glossing over this conception of Merlin. Oh, they're just sort of glossing over what happened to Guinevere and Arthur on their wedding night. But I'm like, woo, shine the flashlight. What is that telling us about them? Because it's telling us that they were divinely, conceived beings, particularly Arthur and Guinevere. And that is part of the entire program that was going on to bring avatars to the planet. So they are avatars. They are great magicians. They are great leaders. And Guinevere has her own story in that regard that I'm going to discover, with people, co-discover with people through some of the eminent research of our great seers on the planet today, Wendy Berg and Lisa Renee, for example. We're going to be looking from different angles to penetrate into these stories about these beings to find out really more who they truly are in their total power and the fact that they are emanations of the Christ-Sophia consciousness. That's the main thing, because that's what's alive for us today. So many of us are understanding that we are on this planet to go through the Christ-Sophia initiation in this time of negativity. And that means the total awakening of your entire divine human blueprint, your consciousness into understanding the other dimensions of reality, your sacred heart, your powerful womb, right? Your right use of phallus, etc. All the chakras firing. And this is also about opening our consciousness so that we can see into the Fae realm, the subtle beings of the earth plane, our ancestors, sisters, and brothers, sometimes known as the Fae, the fairies, the She, and the dragons. The Arthurian program there is containing all of that magic and mystery, which is something that our souls are deeply wanting to get back to. We're deeply wanting to drink of the Holy Grail. And so my course is, one possibility along the way of people who are interested and want to do more and discover and go deeper.
I found it very fascinating. I think I'll put up the class now, but I found it very fascinating that you do have a whole week just on the Fae and the fairy people and how they impacted this whole era too. And I wanted to say, I actually have seen one of those Fae at my front door in Marin County in Nevada in 2000, in the early 2000, right at my door. And it was an amazing experience.
What a gift.
It was an amazing experience. Marguerite, I'm thinking it was was my height, green hat.
Wow.
Green feather. I mean, what their arrows were on was green.
Yeah.
And he was just standing there, and I drove up and I got out of the car and I look up, I think I have packages. He looked at me and I looked at him. We both went, and then he disappeared. But it was
chills.
Right? You have chills. So I know they exist, guys.
Yeah,
I just know it.
That's a she being.
That's a she being.
Yeah, the tall elves of Tolkien are, they're the she. They are the shining ones. They are the Tuat de Danann, the ones who came into the British Isles portals. And they are very strongly connected with this. Essentially the Arthurian age is the age of the fairies. It's like the last gasp of the fairy realm to try to have us maintain our sight and our connectivity with them as sisters and brothers and allies and co-inhabitors of this earth on different dimensions. And it was like, the loss of Avalon, the loss of Camelot was a very great tragedy on the planet. And we all somehow remember that, many of us do. And that's what we're getting back to. We're trying to restore the memories so that we can restore the essential medicine for us of this. What is this about? This is not just a quaint journey into history to, get our little story making jollies. This is about what are we going to do going forward, and how are we going to take this information to become divine humans ourselves and save our planet from environmental destruction, among other kinds of destruction.
Very, very interesting. So really then diving into this work, which of course makes us more conscious and aware and as part of our own ascension process, is going to help lift the planet out of the darkness that we're finding ourselves in.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, Tina Marie is going to slowly scroll this down. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the class as we're going through this?
Yes. So it's called Heal Yourself and Our World by Reclaiming Guinevere, Arthur, the Fae, and the Round Table. All these things and more put together. So, one of the things, the image that we're using there that we've kind of co-created is one of the sacred marriage. And what we're exploring is the possibility that Guinevere and Arthur actually had a happy, sacred marriage, and that everything else that's told about them is a distortion of their story, and that they were made to hold the template of the divine king queen for the world, and that they were really the last legitimate royal people, royal personages, before the negative forces took hold and then started wreaking havoc in all of the monarchies and so forth. Okay. So this is really about understanding how they are emanations of the Christ-Sophia consciousness, how they are emanations of the fairy and Fae realms, and what it is that we need to do with that. There are a couple of free videos there. There's one little quick intro that I have, and then there's another one two of them actually that I've done that they can sign up for a little bit farther right in this section here. And then we start looking at the course itself. And so,
This is what fascinated me, that you really are taking such a deep dive into this.
Yeah,
on every level. And you're also breaking the myth of King Arthur and Guinevere and Sir Lancelot. Do we actually hear about Sir Lancelot in this also?
We're going to look at it. We're going to look at it as a possibility. But I am mostly persuaded by what Oracle Lisa Renee is saying, that was an inserted story by negative interdimensional beings coming through, obviously, poetic writers in France, okay, who were trying to appease the French court for their needs for, drama or whatever. So we're going to look at two possibilities in the course. The possibility that Guinevere and Arthur had a sacred marriage, which is really my favorite. And then the other possibility that she was rebelling against having an arranged marriage, and she wanted to be able to choose the lover she wanted. But, there's so much in there connected with her. There is another story about her being abducted or seduced or pressured perhaps into marriage with Mordred, who was either Arthur's nephew by his sister Morgause or his son by this half sister. These are really strange stories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to people to use the story that has the most medicine for them. But we're going to focus on the story of Guinevere and Arthur having a sacred marriage, because the exercise we're going to do is the activation of the sacred marriage in our lives. So that's like class 1.
That's only class 1.
I know. I mean, I'm looking, going, wow, this is ambitious. But, it may be that I decide and I have to have supplemental videos or whatever, because there's just so much information, or people want to talk more. I've laid it out as best I can, but we'll see how we go, because people might get more for their money than they think.
Wow. And I hear that there's a level 2 already.
You're hearing a level 2,
I was hearing a level 2.
And one thing I want to do, Joan, is think about maybe having a medicine ceremony, namely with cacao, which is a very grounded, wonderful heart and mind opener, maybe after the course, for us to explore some of these technologies, like the round table, like the castle, like the Grail. These really are all symbols and signs of energetic journeys in the other world that people can take, or they're tools that people can use on the astral plane for the benefit of their own lives, as well as the benefit of our planet. So there's a lot to be done here.
So this is new to me. So you're saying that the tools of the castle, the round table, and what was the third one?
The Grail.
The Grail. Is that the sword?
Yes. No, the Grail is the cup.
It is the cup. Okay.
Yeah, because basically Excalibur is the sword, which, as we know, was returned to the Lady of the Lake, because she's like, wow, I'm taking that phallic puppy back until you people learn how to use it properly.
Okay, so this is going to be wild.
What's that?
We're going to hear the true stories about what's going on with it. So these
here's the other thing, Joan. The other aspect of it is that I'm providing a lot of, grounded intellectual information for the course. But what I'm finding is that as I've progressed in my work as a teacher and an oracle, half the time I'm channeling. So what's going to happen, right? So what's going to happen is I'm opening the floodgates, and then boom, it's like whatever's going to happen is going to happen based on the inspiration coming in the moment, maybe people's questions or whatever, but I'm setting the field for these beings to be with us. And then I, in my trained oracle capacity, am just, helping to bring it on so that people can go pop, 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 pop.
I get it. You were instructed to do the class. You got the overview. You know what's going on, but the details will come really filled out as you go through.
To some degree,
I teach you that way myself too, because I'm an oracle also. So you cannot. The words really just come through.
They do, and the more experienced you get with this, as you know, the more advanced you go on your path, the more this is what happens. And really everybody benefits. And it's like, wow, that's interesting. I mean, you start pulling in information that you yourself as the teacher didn't know beforehand.
And that's true. I learn more from what I channel than I had any. I go like this. God, I didn't even know I knew that, because I really didn't. So that's a great option. I'm looking to see, guys, does anyone have any questions?
Oh gosh, yeah. Come on, bring it on, peeps.
Well, here's an easy one. When does the class start?
All right. Well, it starts as of this recording, it starts on June 15th, 2022. But of course, for anyone watching this later, it's going to be recorded. It's going to remain in replay and on demand indefinitely into the future. But if you want the live classes, there are 4 of them, starting June 15th and going through the beginning of July, each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern for an hour and a half.
Lovely. It sounds just perfect. And I'm just excited, guys. I'm looking for your questions. Do we have any other questions? I know they say this is delicious. This is delicious. I am feeling the love vibration, deliciousness right here.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you so much. Is there anything else you want to share with us about what you're doing or what we should know?
I would just say, come and join us for this magical mystery tour, because this is really about the ancient legends talk about the once and future king, that Arthur was going to rise again, awaken again, and so forth. And I am really persuaded by what Lisa Renee, the oracle, has been saying, that Arthur is coming out of what she calls stasis, that literally on his inner plane sleep that he's been in, he's like Sleeping Beauty, coming out of it. And that means Guinevere herself. So what does it mean if these great beings are like coming out like these giants, or these dragon energies reawakening at this critical time on planet Earth? Wow, let's ride that dragon together, people. So come on and be with us.
Wow. So part of, one of the things you brought up is that this is the kind of work that we need to shift the consciousness now in the dark, heavy energy. Yeah. Let's leave everyone with that. Like one of the real deepest meanings that we can take this kind of work and how that would help.
It's for your empowerment. And I have a question here. Is Guinevere related to Mary Magdalene or Mother Mary? Which is very, very interesting, because I think she's related to both. She is an amalgamation. Okay. And that's what we're going to explore. And in exploring that, we're going to explore, how are we amalgamations of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene? That's what it's all about, because it's all about grasping our powers of healing and clearing and manifestation, really, in order to co-create the new earth. That's the ultimate aim here, is to empower us with our allies, our Christ-Sophia allies, and our fairy allies, to help clear out what needs to be cleared out, but most importantly, focus on what we want to see manifesting, and just let that come forth, and everything else dissolves away.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So guys, you can find her. Why don't we tell us your website again?
Yeah, so it's sevensistersmysteryschool.com. And the seven is written out, Seven. If you go there, the course is on the homepage. It's also under the online courses tab. Click it, and it'll be in the drop-down menu. Heal Yourself and Our World by Reclaiming Guinevere, Arthur, the Fae, and the Round Table.
Beautiful. And guys, you can use that link, and that helps us as well. So that's why Marguerite put it up here for us. So use that link, and that would be lovely. And I think, guys, you all ought to be taking that class, because we talk so much about ascension. We talk about the timelines and the ascension timelines.
That's
So
it. It's about ascension, or what I call inscension, because it's an inside job.
Okay, well, that's actually very, very well said. All right, Marguerite, I am so happy you were with us, and I guess we're going to have you here again. I can tell already in a few months, but good luck with your class too.
Thank you so much.
I'm grateful that you were with us today. All right, guys. Well, I think that's amazing. Number one, to just really look at the story of King Arthur and Guinevere, and to realize, well, most of what I thought about that story was probably totally made up, may not have been true, but I did feel into the round table itself, so to hear the real truth and how that impacts us and can awaken our own sacred consciousness and our own divine feminine, our own divine masculine, and to really take action in raising our consciousness for today's world. You're needed. Each of you have this quality within you to be leaders now during these times. And I'm excited that I can help share teachers and tools that will help us all together to walk this ascension path. So please check out Marguerite. Her link, her affiliate link here is for the class. Check out the class. And if you're like me, you're going to find it very exciting and very, very fascinating. So meanwhile, guys, I'm Joan of Angels. I want to thank you for being with us today. You can always check out my website at joanofangels.com and get your free ebooks on how to live your soul-filled purpose today. And so I want to thank you very, very much. We will see you all next week. Thank you again, and have a miraculous week.